worked at a bike shop my buddy owned, and kind of knew two-stroke stuff, and then that was when the four-strokes were just coming out, so learned four-stroke stuff there. And then it's kind of a weird deal. Everybody has their own little, way of getting into it, but we went and all qualified to race the final in Vegas, for the arena cross when it used to be the U.S. Open, and that was 2008. Sorry, end of 2007. I just graduated high school, so we drove out, and I wasn't really interested in the racing part, but it was my way of getting in the industry, going around talking to everybody. And I happened to go in and saw Jeff Alessi was privateer because Mike got a factory ride that year on Suzuki. So I went in, talked to him, gave him a little business card or something, and then didn't think anything of it. Was kind of like, it's not gonna happen, nothing. It's just some dude handing him a card, So on the way home, I started thinking, and I was like, what do I do? What do I do? So I got on Jeff's MySpace at the time and messaged him. I was like, hey, I gave your dad some information about maybe getting a job with you guys. Can I have his number? He's like, no, I won't give you his phone number, but I'll give you his email. So I shot him over this email and like how I want to do it and how I'd be dedicated to it, and like I've always wanted to do it. And he fired me back and was like, hey, I'll call you at 8 o'clock. And we're on our way back. And I was trying to hide it from my buddy because I didn't want to say anything and like get everybody worked up, and because I was only a mechanic at his little bike shop at the time. And yeah, it was weird. On the way home it happened. I talked to him, and like it was going to be sometime in December I was going to come out that year. And then once I got back, because I was in college, then I was going to be like going machining and or something. I just wanted to, my parents probably wanted me to go, so going through the steps. So did it, and then he bumped it up November 1st. I went out, and that's pretty much how I started doing it. So went out to be his practice bike mechanic. Kind of went forward and then backwards. So was with Mike, and then left there, kind of homesick, wasn't feeling it, didn't know if that's really what I wanted to do, thought I made a mistake. Went home, had a girlfriend at the time, which is now my wife. We, being so far apart was kind of hard, so went home for about 2 months and realized, okay, I did make a big mistake, I need to be back out there. And the whole time after I worked for Mike, I tried to get over here, and it was a long road to get here, but I went back, and then I got a job with the Markoff brothers. So moved down to South Carolina, and then stayed with them for a couple months through like their amateur, like Texas races and stuff like that, amateur. And then we hauled their Les Smith's bike out to the what was it, Winter Olympic, or no, the World Mini in Vegas. I got to know him, and it was just one of those time periods everything clicked. He needed a mechanic. His mechanic was good, but he was wanting to go back to Ohio. So right before Loretta's, the regionals and stuff, I started working for Les, which is just another 10 minutes down the road. So just moved to his house, everything, and then from there went to the 1110 Mods team, the Honda Troy that year, because he did the fill-in ride for Kilbarger. Did that. That team split into Kilbarger Racing, and then 1110 Mod did their own thing. And I kind of ran the Kilbarger Racing effort and like put all that together and hired another mechanic and worked for Nico. We were in Millville, and Nico was kind of over it. We didn't have a lot of suspension help. We didn't have a guy, like, we weren't underfunded, but we were understaffed a little bit. It was more towards Levi's deal, and we kind of added Nico just because we had a big semi. There's one guy, and Levi didn't want just one guy, So Nico was kind of over it, and then I was kind of frustrated. I think I was out back washing a tank or something, and Vince Marini, that used to work here for Tyla and Stroop, was now at the new JDR team that started in 2011. And I called him over, and I was like frustrated, and I was like, dude, how did you get your job at PC? He's like, oh, well, it's a little bit different now, but he said Mitch actually called me and offered me the job. He said, but why don't you give me a resume? I was like, I guess I never really thought about it, but I sure can, like I'll bring it next week. He's like, I won't be at the race next week, but give it to Nate and he'll make sure it gets back to me and we'll talk. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So that's how that deal started. So a couple months went by after the last Paula race. They called and offered me the job, and I moved from Ohio. That's when I came back to California and worked there until the team closed, and then Vince got me the job here basically. For me, it's still like I was just talking to Bones about this last night. It's still so prestigious to me to work here, just because of what it is and what Mitch himself has accomplished and the team, and like you see the door, like all the #1 plates. You want to be a part of something like that, and like that your odds are better, being over here with the history. And yeah, it was like a dream come true. Like the first day working there, Mitch came in and was like, "Oh, Shantie's in the house," like being super cool, and like it's had its ups and downs, but as any team would. But yeah, it's still like I used to drive by when I was at JDR on the 91 and be like, "Dude, I'm gonna work there someday." Like it was still a dream of mine. It's still something I was still working towards. So when it finally happened, like getting to work there, and now when I go by there now, I'm like, like I lived out a dream, So I still got to look at it like that. So it's still awesome. I've actually had a pretty good luck with all the guys I've worked with. I've become pretty good friends with them, and I'm pretty good friends with them still. He was a different case because when I heard he was coming over here, Mitch came to me and said, "Hey, you already have a relationship with Joey from JDR." I didn't work with him there, but that is small and close-knit as JDR was. We were all pretty much family. So Richie at the time worked for him there, but we were all around each other, and I knew him really well. And I knew his program, and I knew where he lived, and I knew his parents, and so Mitch said it was a no-brainer that he wanted me to work with him when he came over here. So I think the last race was in Utah last year, and he came by, and I was like, "Yeah, I think when you come over here, I'm going to be your guy." So I think he was stoked to be able to go and transition with. It's got to be just as hard for a rider as this mechanic to go with a new guy. Trust the motorcycle you're working on, or you're riding, and so trust the guy that's working on it. So we didn't have to build that up at all. I don't think I didn't on my side. It just kind of like worked right off the bat. So he's a good friend of mine. Here we still build all of our own engines, our practice engines, test engines, and our race engines. That's actually what I was doing on Tuesday. So very confident in the engines. You build them, they get dynoed. Usually if something's going to happen for a human error thing, it's going to happen on the dyno right away, like something loose or something not put together right. But as long as the numbers are good, they get packed up and put in the truck. So on the bike, you just nut and bolt it. You don't want anything falling off. Obviously, it looks bad on you. So anything that rotates, so like sprocket bolts, vibration, the chain, all that kind of stuff, like just little stuff. Saturday's pretty easy on the bike because you've already built it, went through it, and then just gaining the confidence of building it every week the same way, so you don't ever miss anything. So, but you're always tweaking out and checking every little thing you can get to, I had a couple that I thought were like the best feeling ever. Probably my first podium, which was here in San Diego. San Diego's been good to me. That was with Matt Moss. We got a third at the old Qualcomm Stadium. Qualcomm, right?
Yeah.
And that was pretty cool. And then my first ever win was down here at the same stadium with Justin Hill, and that was big. And then that same year, Justin went to Vegas and won the shootout, which was pretty cool. That was, and then Dean won, because me and Ollie were racing that coast. So Dean won the heat race for that coast, and then Justin won the shootout. But in those same races, the other guy on the team went 2 when the other guy went 1. So 1-2 and then 2-1. So it was really cool. And then we didn't actually win a moto at Unadilla last year with Joey, but he won the overall, so that was really big for him. I've actually been pretty lucky to be part of like some of these younger guys and myself, like first wins and first podiums with these guys. So it was Justin's first podium and first win, and that it was all my first as well, with Joey, that was his first ever outdoor overall, and mine as well. So pretty high moments. Yeah, it's a glamour show on Saturday for sure. But if people were around in the same light on Monday and Tuesday at the track, at the shop, building bikes, like 10-hour, 12-hour days, like right away. So you do it because you love it. But yeah, it's not a 9-to-5 deal. Like you don't clock out when the whistle blows, and even when you are at home, me personally, I'm always thinking about stuff for the next day or making notes, or like the stress is still there, and I gotta have a bike ready, and I gotta do this, and I gotta check that, and you got the guy relying on you to have an awesome bike to ride during the week and on the weekend. So there's a little bit of a balancing act with trying to clear your mind and not be so stressed about like the motorcycle. No, it's super fun. Like if it's something you're into and something you have a knack for, like I was drawn to it from my very first race I ever went to. I saw Goose spinning T-handles for RC, and I was just hooked. From that, I was 14 years old, so from that point forward, I was like, I don't think it's ever possible, but it'd be a dream of mine to work under a semi, you know, and for one of the, you know, best guys, you know. So, like a lot of people say, you gotta start small. Everybody's journey is always different, but start with like an amateur guy or a local guy and just get to the races. The main thing is having your face at the race and do quality work, and basically the bike is your resume. So build a nice looking bike, have good workmanship, and try to just elevate with better, faster guys that are going somewhere, you know, mini bike guys that are going somewhere, be it Loretta's, just, and make contacts, network.